Hey, this is Joe Solari, and this is part 3 of the SBA Disaster Loan series. I call this one Surviving Until the Money Arrives. Because here's the thing, whenever they have one of these stimulus packages, while the legislation passes quickly, actually getting money into people's hands takes some time. And if you're here running a legitimate business and you're looking for money to get you through this economic downturn that we're going to be facing, then this is a real problem. And you're going to have a plan to get through to the other side. Now this video is really for folks that are running businesses. There's not going to be a bunch of malarkey about how you can get free money and how this is going to be a way for you to get 10,000 bucks. What I'm focused on here is helping you to see the timeline that it'll take to get money into your hands. Let me break down a few of the pieces of the stimulus package and how money might come to you and when it might come to you. So first off, there is the stimulus checks. This is coming right from the Treasury Department. And if you have your banking information already on file with the IRS, then they're going to be wiring that money right into your account. The amount will depend on what your adjusted gross income is, but that money will start dropping into accounts in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's going to be the quickest way that they get money into people's hands. The next thing is unemployment. Now there is a chunk of money approved for funding state unemployment. As that money moves into the system, for you to access that, one, you have had to have lost a job. And understand with this stimulus package, it is set up that people that are independent contractors and self-employed have the ability to get unemployment, but you're going to have to see how that works through in the state system. That's typically not been the case in the past, so you're going to have to see whatever your particular state's process is for getting on that unemployment. Most unemployment programs will typically get you money in 2 to 3 weeks after you filed, and that money either gets wired into your account or it's going to come to you via some type of cash card that you can draw money out of an ATM. Now let's talk about the loan programs that are being run through the SBA. There's 2 of those. There's the Economic Impact Disaster Loan, which is direct from the SBA. Again, that application is up on the site and you can fill that out now, but there is no clear indication when they're going to start approving and distributing money. Number 2 is the Paycheck Protection Program that you've heard a lot of people talk about. There's this function where you can be approved for a large portion of that to be forgiven if it's used for payroll. The application has been put out, but there has not been any clear indication when banks will begin accepting application. This is where the rub is, because think about this. Besides the fact this being a massive stimulus package and it was dropped just a week ago, and banks are trying to make sure that they comply and do things the right way and put things in place because there's going to be a lot of scammers and people that really shouldn't get this money trying to get it. While they're doing all that, they also have a large part of their workforce across the United States that are sheltering in place. This will all get worked through, but as a person running a business that has payroll to make and bills to pay, you have to understand the real basics of the cash flow to move through this. To understand this, you're somebody else's expense. The services that you provide in your business, whether you're an author writing books or you're a designer of book covers, or you're anybody in a gig economy, or you're selling insurance, whatever it is, you are somebody else's expense, and people are going to be cutting expenses. So you should be expecting to see a significant drop in income. We know from President Bullard said at the St. Louis Fed that they're planning on a 50% drop in GDP. So we're going to see a massive shrinking of the economy like we haven't seen before. So while there may initially be some pickup in a lot of businesses because of the fact that people are hoarding stuff, it's going to drop off. And then as more and more people are conserving and hoarding cash, it's going to be harder and harder for money to move through the system. That's really why the stimulus package has been put in place, because we are about 6 to 8 weeks before things really seizing up. So what can you do to make sure that your business doesn't seize up? Cut back on all of those expenses that you can. Really need to minimize your expense footprint as much as possible. With an understanding of the cash that you need, the next thing you need to do is you need to look at a personal and a business cash flow analysis for the next 120 days. How much money do you need to pay your mortgage, your rent, keep the lights on at home and in your business? We need to get that as small as possible. Now on the personal level, there are some things you can do, like you can see about getting a forbearance on your mortgage so that you can hold off making those payments. You can look at some of the other services that you may be able to cut back or reduce service on in the short term. Whatever you can do to get that footprint down as small as possible so that you don't need as much cash and the cash that you are going to have lasts longer. So I'm recording this on April 3rd. This was the day that banks were supposed to begin accepting applications for small businesses. For those of you that are gig workers or sole proprietors, you also can apply for the PPP program, but you're not supposed to send in your application until the 10th. Doesn't matter, get your materials together, but hopefully they'll be accepting applications by the 10th from anybody. If we look at things not happening yet, we're probably a week before them happening. So why don't we just move everything to the 10th? If they begin accepting applications on the 10th, and we're figuring somewhere between 7 and 10 working days for an approval process, we are not going to be seeing money until sometime around the 24th. More likely it's going to be towards the end of the month of April. If we add several weeks to that, now we're talking you're going to be into early May to mid-May for the money to start showing up in accounts. Therefore, the money that you have on hand needs to get you through that period of time. You need to look at and make sure that you're cutting things back to the point and adjusting your cash flows, that the money that is in hand today can at least get you into that mid-May time frame. If you were approved for the PPP program, they're going to give you 2.5 times your past payroll in a loan. And even if that is turned into a grant that you don't have to pay back, that's going to only give you 2.5 months of operating cash working at those levels. So you need to figure out how you may have to adjust your business if sales have dropped off significantly. Can you make that 2.5 months of money last you 4 months? Because it's going to take some time for this economy to come back to an acceptable level, to get your sales coming back. And it's just going to take time for people to have the confidence to spend money on other things than the bare necessities when you have one of these economic downturns. Now, not to scare you too much, but if you look at the average time that it takes the economy to come back off a major downturn to where it was prior to that, it takes about 1,000 days. That's just short of 3 years. Now, that's not saying you have to survive that period of time, but understand your business and how it's been operating prior to the COVID-19 epidemic will be different afterwards, and the fact that there's just going to take some time to get things moving at different levels. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I hope that you found this video helpful and you planning out how to get to the other side and getting to that point where you can get that money if you're going to apply for it. But you're going to need to know that this isn't going to be a lifeline that gets thrown to you in the next 48 hours. It's going to take maybe 4 to 6 weeks for you to actually get the full amount of money that you're looking to get your business to the other side.